What's going on, guys? Ryan Nelson here, and I've got my tall friend over here, and we're gonna be out here today testing these drones. I've got the original Mavic Pro. We've got the Mavic Pro 2. This guy doesn't like to be on camera, but he does like to fly drones. And then we also have the new DJI Mavic Air 2. Testing these out today on a socially distant outdoor day. Let's get to it. See if it's worth buying this, or do you need that? Do you need that one? It's Pro, so it's Pro. If you're Pro, you need the Pro. Or this Pro. Pro 2 is better, I hear. We're gonna find out. Get to it. It's gonna fall over. One nice thing I found about the Air is I have not had to calibrate it once, and it doesn't fly into things. So big plus for the Air 2. Well, we've got a problem over here in no fly zone. Okay, so we are at our second location. It's not quite as scenic as the first one, but you know, I think we can fly here. We're gonna do the test here. We're just gonna have to get a little bit more creative with our shots. So that's okay, that's okay. It's all about creativity, right? So just scoping the place out, and we're gonna pop the drones up here soon. So let's get to it. There he goes again, calibrating his drone. Again, still didn't have to calibrate the compass for the Mavic Air. It's also getting hot. Hot?
It's really hot.
It's really hot. Oh yeah, I'm starting with the Mavic Air 2 this time to make sure we can fly all the other drones here. We appear to be good. Let's do it. Let's do it.
To start off, I wanted to take a look at the 4K 24 on each of these drones. This is the original Mavic Pro. I've been using this for a while and have had kind of mixed results in the daylight. A little noisy in the shadows, and I'm thinking everything else looks pretty all right, maybe a little oversaturated. Now moving on to the Mavic 2 Pro, we're seeing the colors are definitely a lot less saturated on here. I have given these all a slight color correction based on the color card. Still kind of noisy in the shadows, a little less saturated than the original Mavic Pro. Other than that, I think that's looking pretty good. And then taking a look at the Mavic Air 2. Also, the colors are a little less saturated than the original Mavic. Everything's looking pretty good. I think the colors on here do look a little bit better than the Mavic 2 Pro. Again, simple color grade with a color card. Now moving into the slow motion footage on each of these, the Mavic Pro, we're shooting 1080 at 96 frames per second. We're definitely getting some banding or moire effect on the sign. I'm not sure of the technical term for this, but it's also showing up on the Mavic 2 Pro. Definitely not a production quality recording. Now taking a look at the Mavic Air 2, we're losing a lot of that in the Mavic Air 2, so the slow motion at 240 in here is looking much better than the slow motion on either of the Mavic Pros. And just because it does it, we're taking a look at the 4K 60 footage. Also, not bad at all.
Okay, well, it's getting really effing hot out here. Things are failing. This thing is just refreshing like every 3 to 5 seconds, so I'm not really gonna be able to do awesome shots. So today's kind of a bust. We're gonna go get up earlier and do this closer to home where it's a little bit cooler. Bye, tall man. Okay, it's getting hot. See, it's like 98. Kind of warm. Let's go home and try this another day. Good morning, guys. It's a little bit cooler today. It's about 10 a.m. and it's about 92 degrees. So a relatively cool morning for Phoenix. Heading over to the park, we're gonna do a few more tests. I've got the 24 frames per second 4K test out of the way. I have the slow motion test out of the way. By the way, the Mavic Air 2 is the only one that does slow motion at 4K. It does 4K 60. Everything else you'll have to drop down to 1080 to get any sort of 60, 120. So today we're gonna test out a couple of the automatic modes. We're gonna test out the tracking features on all of these. We're gonna do a droney, and we're going to do a helix. Okay, coming up to the park. Time to get my mask on. Let's do it. Ready to fly some drones?
So next I wanted to test out some of the automatic features, active track on each of these drones. So looking at the Mavic Pro, we're following the tall man on a one wheel riding around the corner here. Hopefully these drones don't hit the trees or this light post, just kind of seeing how well these actively track. Now on the Mavic Pro, it's not so intuitive on how to get this going. Once you pull the active track up, you have to draw a box around your subject and then select the type of active track you want to do, and then hit go. And then it tracks all right. I did have one false start where it tried to fly in between the post and the tree. Now the Mavic 2 was a little bit more intuitive, even though it's using the same app, but I did also have a couple of false starts here where I started recording, it was tracking, but it was not moving. And then it did also try to fly itself into a tree. Luckily, I saved it within about a foot of flying into the tree. But once we finally got it going, I had to be a little bit higher off the ground to get the active track active. It did a decent job of following the tall man around on the one wheel. A little bit of jerky movements here, but overall it's fairly smooth. It's a piece of technology that's flying in the sky. What more do you expect? And then the Mavic Air 2, I think this has the most intuitive app. This one was so much easier just to draw a box, get this active track going, and it pretty much locked on the first time, never tried to fly into a tree, even though it has fewer sensors than the Mavic 2 Pro. Did a really good job of following him around the field on one shot. On its first shot, it even followed him all the way back through the trees, thankfully without hitting a single tree, because who wants to crash their drone into a tree? Yay! And then because why not, I wanted to test out a couple of the purely automatic modes on all three of these drones. Starting off with the Droney, Mavic Pro, flew pretty well. Mavic Pro 2, one thing I have noticed with the Mavic 2 Pro, when you're shooting in these automatic modes, you can't shoot in log. It keeps asking you to change it to H.265, but then you go to change that setting and it's grayed out. So I have not figured out yet how to shoot in log on the Mavic 2 Pro. Now we can do that on the Mavic Air 2, which makes color grading a lot easier, especially if you're mixing footage you shot yourself and automatic modes. All three of these dronies I think did just fine. And then because why not, I had the tall man ride in circles around, maybe that's a sprinkler head, not really sure. But had him ride in circles around here to test out the Helix. No drones crashed into anything while doing this test, so I think it was pretty successful. Again, on the Mavic 2 Pro, the colors are a little bit more wonky. It's a very warm recording. I don't know if there's some setting that I missed in this drone or if this is just the way this drone records. It did record very, very warm compared to the other drones. Also a little bit jerkier there on the Helix mode, but overall okay. Now the Mavic Air 2, I don't know if it was because of the way I set it up. Maybe I started a little bit farther away, but I like the framing on this shot the best because it actually pans up a little bit and you see the city in the background towards the end of the shot. It ended up being a much nicer shot than the other two where you don't really get the context of the city and the mountains in the background.
Okay, so we just wrapped up the second round of drone testing. It was way more successful than take one. Nothing was overheating, everything was working. We had a nice spot in the shade to camp everything out at. I have to say, based purely on a flying experience, the experience of flying this drone, the Mavic Air 2, still recommend it. Like, just flies like butter. That's all I can say is it flies like butter. It's so smooth. It does what you want it to. It's quick. Going back to the original Pro, it's like, wow, this thing kind of flies like a brick now. I used to say it flies like a sports car. Now it seems like it flies like a brick after doing the Air 2. It is really, really choppy up here. So I'm gonna get out on some asphalt so I'm not like, So I have to say it's pretty amazing how different each one of these three drones are, even though they're all kind of like very close family members. They're very, very different drones. The Mavic Air 2 does require its own app, which at first I'm like, that's really obnoxious. That's kind of annoying. I already know how to use the other app. But after using it for like a day, I like that app way better. It's way more intuitive. It's easier to get to your settings quickly and easily, and they're just kind of right where you want them to be. So other things that I really noticed with this is tracking on the original Mavic kind of sucks. It's not that great. Tracking on the Mavic Pro 2 is okay. And then tracking in the automatic modes on the Air 2, the Mavic Air 2, the new one, just on point. Well done. Another big plus for that drone. One really annoying thing I found out about the Mavic 2 Pro, you can't shoot in D-Log unless you are shooting in H.265, but H.265 is grayed out, so you cannot get in and change to H.265. So basically saying that you can't shoot in D-Log when you're shooting in automatic modes, which you can in the original Mavic and you can in the Mavic Air 2. No D-Log in automatic modes in the Pro 2. I haven't figured out how to fix that one yet. I'm sure there was a few more things that I can't think of off the top of my head. After I look at these in the studio, I'll give you my final thoughts. So let's get back and do that. I'll see you there.
So as I'm going over my final thoughts of these, I figured let's take a look at the sample footage again while you're deciding which drone you want to spend your money on. If any of these shots aren't looking very cinematic, it's because I'm shooting at ridiculous shutter speeds, something like 600th of a second, when I should be shooting at more like a 50th of a second. But I wanted to keep this test pretty even across the board and not use any ND filters, any polarizers, anything like that. I just wanted to look out of the box so you know what you're going to get without filters. Filters are recommended, ND filters. It makes your shots look so much nicer. So let's jump right into the price of these drones. Now the Mavic Pro, you can find these used for about $500 or $600 depending on which accessories are coming with the drone. That is not that much less than the Mavic Air 2 brand new. That being said, the Mavic 2 Pro is still around $1,500, so a little less than twice the price of the Mavic Air 2. Looking at all of this, I think the Mavic Air 2 is about 95% of the drone that the Mavic 2 Pro is. So why would you spend so much more money for the Mavic 2 Pro? Well, if you're really concerned about crashing this drone, the Mavic 2 Pro has sensors all around, so it is going to be a lot more lenient with flying really close to things. I did notice I was getting a lot of warnings when I was flying the 2 Pro because I do like to fly close to things. As for the image quality on each of these, I actually did not like the Mavic 2 Pro. I think I mentioned earlier there is some weird color science going on in there, and I still don't know if that's a setting that I missed or if it's just the way this drone records. I do like the Mavic Air 2 a lot. It's a smaller package, it does a lot, it's got a bit more flight time, and it is the cheapest option that you can buy new right now. It isn't the cheapest of the options, but it is just a couple $100 more than you can pick up a Mavic Pro 4. Definitely a lot better technology in the Mavic Air 2, so I would highly suggest leaning towards the Mavic Air 2 over the Mavic Pro original. I like the app in the Mavic Air 2 a lot better. It's a lot more intuitive, easier to change your settings on the fly, no pun intended. And the active track and the automatic features in the Mavic Air 2 were kind of really good. I really did not have much trouble getting them going. It was very good at avoiding obstacles and not trying to fly itself into things. It changes height, it changes direction. It's really good at not flying into things, which is good. That's a good thing. So I tell you what, guys, as we're finishing this off, if you have any questions or comments for me, put that down in the comment section. If you like this video, you found it useful, hit that thumbs up button down there, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. the tall man is not Peter McKinnon, just so you know.